Hello, dear Facebook community. Nice to meet you all. I am Sarah. Today is a good day, I would say. We usually go live every Friday, and I have a guest share one of their topics. And today, that person wasn't available, so I get to talk to you directly. And I was thinking, what should I talk to you about? I mean, I have so much to say, so much to teach. We have the 5-day challenge coming up next week. The link is above if you haven't signed up for it. At the end of the video, I'll give you a little bit of an idea as of how it's all gonna work. All the instructions are on the units. So I don't want to spend too much time on this live going over that because it's all ready and it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to share all the goodness with you. So I was thinking, okay, so what should I do the live about? I mean, there's so many topics that we can talk about. I can talk about energy, I can talk about emotions, I could talk about, how to do so many things, how to manifest, how to create, how to be disciplined, all of these things. I could talk about the challenges that you encounter. I could talk about, the different paths of yoga and the different things that, create a spiritual practice. But I said, what I would really like to do is kind of tell you a little bit about me and my journey and how I ended up leading this amazing community of women. And as I started to do that, I'm like, oh Lord, now I'm gonna get all emotional, and now what is gonna happen? I have to go live and I gotta get all choked up. But I think it's important. I think that it would be nice for you to kind of get to know me. I would love to know a little bit more about you. And hopefully we get to do that at some point. But just for today, I like to go back in time and kind of recap how I ended up where I am today, leading this amazing community of women, working online, meeting so many wonderful people. So I would say it all began about 20 years ago when I took my first yoga class. And at the time, I just knew that it made me feel good, that I felt more clear mentally and emotionally. I had more energy, I slept better. And I didn't know what it was or, anything about it other than it just felt so good. And I felt so good and more awake and more alert and more happy and more peaceful and more joyful. And so I started to take a class, and it was sporadic at first. Like, I would just take a class for the weekend and then come back, and then I would take a break for a few months and then go back. And then I moved, and at the dry cleaners there was a flyer that talked about hot yoga, and I was like, hot yoga, what is that? And I took a class, and I kind of got hooked. So for those of you who are Bikram people or hot yoga people, I don't do it anymore. I've outgrown it, I've evolved. But at some point in my 20s, I did 5 years worth of Bikram yoga, and I'm talking like 4 or 5 times a week, 90 minutes, the same practice every time. So, it has its pros, it has its cons. Like I said, I don't do it anymore, but at the time, it's kind of what I needed. It's just, I was young, I was hyper, I had a high stress job, and it was like the only thing that would kind of like help me to work out a lot of that pent up energy. So I did that for a while, and then it was time to kind of just shift and learn something new. And I wanted to learn more about yoga. So I signed up for a 200-hour yoga teacher training program. And I am very intuitive and very decisive. So even though all I had done was 5 years of this one style, I knew that I had to do something else. Partly because at the time, in order to get certified for that hot yoga one, I had to go away for like 90 days. And I had 2 little kids, and I couldn't just take off and leave my job and my kids and my family and go get certified to teach yoga. So I had to find another studio near the house that had a more flexible program. So I kind of just literally Googled, and I was like, that's it, that's the one. And I showed up to a class one day, and I met this teacher. You see, this is why I didn't want to tell this story. Her name was Mandy. And I'm trying to catch my breath. Hold on. I don't want to cry on the live. That's not fun. Anyway, Mandy was so patient with me because I was a hot yoga girl, right? So I was really hyper and really gung-ho, like I'm just gonna take my yoga practice. And she would watch me, and she just patiently would guide me. And I forget how long the training was, maybe like 3-6 months. And by the time I was done with that training, I had a whole new perspective of yoga. I began to really understand what it was all about. There was also another teacher in that studio. His name was Rama. He was this little Indian guy. At the time, he must have been like 70, 80 years old or something. And he would do the whole class with us. Like, it was amazing. And I was so inspired by him because his energy was just right. Like, he was just on point and direct and funny. He was so, so funny. And so this was back in 2010, so about 10 years ago. That's when I first got certified. And ever since, I kind of continued to teach. So I still wanted to do the hot yoga, and I still wanted to teach the hot yoga. But like I said, I couldn't go away for 90 days. So then I found this training out in Costa Rica, where it was like a bridge program. Since I already had a 200-hour certification, they would put you in a room for like 40 hours in 1 week, and then they would teach you the hot yoga version of it so that I could be certified to teach that. And so I did. I went off to Costa Rica for a week, and I got certified to do that. And then I came back and I took another program. And the whole time I was teaching. Hi, Colleen. How are you? Yes, I was a hot yoga mama for a while. I bet you didn't know. Not anymore, but at the time it served me well. So then I came back from that trip in Costa Rica, and at the time I was having a lot of like relationship issues. I was not in a good place in my marriage. I'm no longer married. I'm divorced now. But I was struggling and going back and forth and trying to just follow my path and my truth and what I knew in my heart I had to do. And I didn't have the support that I needed. So at some point, I tried to move out of the house and then ended up going back. And I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to want to do something and have all of the mental limitations and preconceived notions and societal expectations hold you back from truly following your heart. So eventually, I think it was maybe 2015 or so, or maybe 2014, I went and I took another 300-hour, like an advanced certification to teach yoga. And then eventually I took another 200-hour in a different style of yoga. And so to this day, I have studied 7 or 8 different lineages, and I'm certified in 5 of them. Because I'm a training junkie. But to be honest, that's not even what makes me the teacher I am. I have to go rewind a little bit. Back in 2008, I was working at the water company doing customer service. And the girl who sat next to me, we had this tiny little cubicle. So we didn't have a lot of room to like, a lot of privacy per se. And it was 6 of us in these tiny little cubicles with our headsets. And the girl who worked next to me Canise was her name. I missed her too. Oh, you see, this is why I didn't want to share the whole story. It's like it makes me reminisce into all of these wonderful people that have supported me through my journey. And so Canise introduced me to this teacher who is a Reiki, who was teaching Reiki. And I'm like, I don't know what Reiki is. And she's like, well, it's energy healing and blah, blah, blah. And she teaches a community at a class at the community school. And you should just take it. It's in the fall. And so in the fall of 2008, so 12 years ago, I walked into this classroom. You see, this is where I get choked up again. I've had a long journey here, I gotta tell you that. And this amazing teacher, her name's Dorothea, literally helped me heal my life. Like literally get all my act together. She was the one that encouraged me to go to the yoga teacher training. She was the one that encouraged me to quit my job when it was time. She was the one that encouraged me to leave the relationships that no longer served me. She taught me how the energy system works. She taught me to be self-disciplined, and she taught me to love. You see, this is why I didn't want to share this story. It takes so much courage. You have no idea how much courage it takes to share a story, your personal story. Because it's been a journey of true healing. Thanks. I'm glad to know I'm not the only crier, Colleen. It's just, I want you guys to know that when I teach from a place of love. I teach from a place of having suffered and having gotten myself out. And it's taken so much effort and so much energy to become who I am today. And so, because I've done it, I know that you can do it too. And that's the place from which I teach. I believe that it doesn't matter how lost you are and how crazy you are doing hot yoga 6 times a week, which I don't think it's crazy, just for the record. I think that at the time, if that's what serves you, that is honestly the right thing for you. If you're willing to do the work, if you have a teacher who supports you unconditionally, if you're willing to go deep into the layers of the self that hurt, that are in pain, that are afraid, if you're willing to look at everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, at your shadow, at your anger, your resentment, at your fear, at your whatever it is, with an open heart, if you're willing to look at it all unconditionally, without judgment, without resistance, without aversion, your heart just opens up. And it's from that place that I teach. It's because I've been there, done that, suffered so much. And now I'm in a completely different place. So through 12 years of healing, you know, what you see, just for the record, for anybody who's joining, what you see here is actually tears of joy more than tears of sadness, tears of gratitude as of all the people that have helped me heal so much, that have supported every step of my journey to where I am today. So the story that I was trying to tell is how I ended up creating these amazing communities. So fast forward 2015, I get divorced, I quit my job, I decide that I gotta make a living somehow, and I am hustling, going and teaching from this studio to that studio, like literally driving 2 hours a day within a 30-mile radius, going, teaching yoga here, teaching yoga there, going to this person's house, going to that person's house, and like just hustling. And eventually my teacher says, okay, it's time to open up a studio. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I just got divorced. I have no money. You want me to do what? But she says do, and I say yes, ma'am. And I follow. I'm a good student. Even through my biggest fears, I know how to push through. So I didn't get out of hell by not pushing through. I got out of hell like fighting through hell, fighting like hell to get out of hell. So I go ahead and I take a leap of faith and I open this 500 square foot studio. It was probably less than that. I mean, you could literally fit, I think it was 3 mats, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I put all my love and heart and soul into this little place. And I start getting students. You will meet some of those students. You see, then I get choked up again. Oh man, I wonder if this was a good idea to share all of this with you guys. It is. You need to know. Because sometimes I come across like a little rough around the edges and a little stern and a little tough. But it's because if you're looking for a teacher to cuddle you, if you're looking for a teacher to validate your excuses, I am the one. I will hold your feet to the fire just like I've held my own feet to the fire. So anyway, you'll meet some of these students, and the reason that I get choked up is because they've supported my journey. To teach is a blessing. Every time that I teach, I get to relearn what I know. I get to share with others. I see their faces light up. I see them find new perspectives and new ways of thinking and being and feeling. And it's not that I get my fulfillment out of it, because I do believe that your progress is your progress, and what you do, I cannot do for you. But it keeps me inspired because it gives me a purpose in life. So yes, Colleen, the studio was a beautiful space. There's probably still pictures in my main website, sarahyogaandwellness.com. If you go to the gallery, I'm sure I've kept pictures because it was a beautiful space. So anyway, I had this tiny little studio and students started to come in, and a few of them you'll meet next week during the challenge. A few of them are going to join me and share their stories with you a little bit. And a year into it, my teacher says to me, okay, it's time to create a yoga teacher training program. And I go, seriously, who am I? Who am I to create a yoga teacher training program? And she's like, well, just go create a syllabus. And you see, this is so tough. So if you're watching, thank you for having. I told you to get a cup of tea, so you can go grab a cup of tea. And so she says, create a syllabus. And I go ahead, I create a syllabus. And the first year, I have 9 students enrolling to the program. And I'm like, oh my God, where did they even come from? And like, who am I and how am I going to teach them to be teachers? Like, this is so difficult. Like, so I guess my point is, you never really know what you're capable of and how much you can do and how brilliant you are until you begin to step into your power and take action and do it. You have to do it. I wouldn't have known how much I could lead a group of teachers if I hadn't done it. I had to give it a try, and I had to push through my doubts, and I had to push through my fears, and I had to push through a lot of just even the logistical things of running a yoga teacher training program, etc. So I go ahead and I open it up, and now the little studio that I have is a little too small for this, right? So I end up taking over the other side, and in the other side, so it was like a 2-story building, and in one side was a little studio, and in the other side of the second floor was this big classroom style place, and it had 3 other little rooms. And one of them became my office, the other one became a little storage room, And the other one became my Reiki room. You see, up until that point, it was by then 2015, I had trained to be a Reiki master teacher. Each of those programs, like Reiki level 1 and 2 was just 10 weeks. But then the Reiki master program was 2 years. The Reiki master teacher program was, I think it was a year and a half or 2 years. But the first time that I tried to do it, I couldn't finish it because I had the job and the ex-husband now, and I had just a lot of things that I had one foot in one world and one foot in another. And I was trying to have it both ways, and I couldn't make the leap. So halfway through the Reiki Master Teacher training program, I had to quit. The conflict between what I wanted to do and still hanging on to the life that I had and the way that I thought that things were supposed to be, and the people, places, and things in my life that were kind of still holding me back, was too much, and I couldn't do both. So I ended up quitting the teacher training program and taking a break. And so I also know what it's like to fail. I also know what it's like to try with all your might and still hit a wall and not be able to make it through the other side, and then maybe regress a little. And 2 years later, after I had gotten divorced and I was living on my own, I went back. Did I go back? No, I think I went back before I got divorced. I forget. Anyway, I tried it again, and this time I was able to complete it. So by now, it's now 2016 or so, and I now have this Reiki room, but to be honest, I've never really worked on people professionally. So I used to do it on myself every day, but I wasn't actually professionally teaching Reiki or doing Reiki treatments on people. And so, but now I have this Reiki room. And so I put a massage table in there, and I share with my yoga students that I'm going to be doing Reiki treatments now. And again, another one of those leaps of faith that takes so much courage and so much learning and so much transformation and so much of everything you've got. So I start doing Reiki treatments little by little, and then before I know it, my schedule is busy doing Reiki treatments. And I start teaching Reiki, and I start doing holistic life coaching, and I'm starting to see like the real transformation that I am helping these students create. I mean, I have had students who have left dysfunctional jobs, dysfunctional relationships. I have students who have stayed in their same relationship but have a whole other perspective of it, and therefore it's a lot more peaceful because they've healed their own crap. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. Is that a bad word? Their own stuff. And maybe they still have the same job, the same relationship, but because they've healed their stuff, they're no longer suffering because they see things from a different light and they can function better and not interact in a dysfunctional way, etc. So as I went through that journey and I start to see these students just shift their entire life and really awaken and really feel empowered and really make transformational changes in their life, I then begin to become a little bit of a more confident teacher. I'm like, oh, okay, so yeah, like what I do helps, what I do is valuable. And you know, if you ever try to start like a holistic practice, I now have a mentorship program for holistic practitioners, nutritionists, wellness professionals, etc. Thanks, Colleen. So where was I? Sometimes the comments is this multitasking thing, right? So I start seeing that, so I was saying, so, you know, when you start a practice and you know that you're supposed to be on this path of teaching, of healing, or you know that you have something special to share, but you don't know how, and then you go out there and you have to go like literally into the market. You have to run it like a professional practice. You have to run it like a business. You need to be able to pay the rent. You need to be able to like keep student boundaries. There's like so much, and it's not just like any other business, because what we do as health and wellness practitioners is we have to get people to kind of like agree that yes, we could help, and then pay us. And then they have to make time in their schedule to learn, and then they have to practice what they learn, and then little by little they make little bits of progress one at a time. So as a practitioner, you really have to hold the space of confidence and trust in yourself, because transformation is going to take time. And so when I take on a student, I set up these long journeys because I know that what they're trying to do is not easy, and I know that I need to be there for them, and I know that they need the time and space to actually create the change and transformation in their life. And so, I can only do that now because through all of this experience of creating the yoga studio and yoga teacher training programs and doing the Reiki treatments and seeing people transform and how long it takes, etc., etc., I have seen the value in holding sacred space for someone. And so here I am online, right? So this is where the story is going. Is how did I end up creating this amazing community online? So it's now, fast forward, all of that's going from 2015, 16, 17, 18. And by 2019, I now have this big studio, lots of students. And to be honest, I'm a little bit working too much. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, I can't, compromise the quality of my work, and I can't burn myself out, and the rent is what it is, the space is what it is. So my kids are by now moved out of the house into college, etc., etc. So I'm kind of free to go wherever I want. And so my teacher says to me, okay, well, get ready to move. Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know. Look at a map, and I'm like, I don't know, California, Oregon, where do I go? And I just kind of start to try and figure out, try to do some research. I've never even been out west at all, but I know I have to move west. I don't know exactly where I'm gonna go. And long story short, I line everything up. I end up here in Utah. And people ask me why, and I wish I had an answer for you. It was literally intuitive and divine guidance. I don't really have a rational answer for you. I don't have a specific reason or a place. I've never been here before. I made the decision, and then last July, in 2019 July, I came to kind of just check it out. Okay, let me go take a look. This is the place that I've chosen. What does it look like? Because I've never been there before. And so last summer I came and I took a little trip here to just check it out, make sure this is where I wanted to go. And then January of this year, I packed 3 U-Hauls and I shipped them all over here. And by the time I landed in January, I was blessed, and I am deeply, deeply grateful for all of my New Jersey clients who kind of chose to take the leap of faith and start working online with me, which none of us had ever done. And so when I came here, I was already teaching online. So that's my little studio right there. That's my yoga mat, and then I have my recording equipment over here and stuff. And I was already teaching online, and then the situation, which I don't like to name because we're all aware and I don't believe in giving it more energy than it needs, the situation happened, and I realized, okay, well, then I really need to just make this online thing work, because to try and open up a brick and mortar studio here like I used to have over there is not really going to be feasible at this time. So I start to try and learn, and I start to try and figure out, okay, how is this going to work? And I create this 90-day awakening and empowerment program, and which is a combination of what I've learned through all of this long journey. Because what I've learned in this whole journey that I've shared with you is 2 things. First of all, there is no one size fits all. There's a different practice for the different individual at a different point in time in their life, depending on what they need. And I need to give them that. I need to give them a practice that's customized for their specific needs. And I have all of the studies and certifications and knowledge. I have a big toolbox to draw from. And then you can practice all you want, but you need to understand. You need to understand how energy works. You need to understand how the human system works, how your spirit works. You need to understand what it is you're trying to do spiritually. You need to understand your purpose on earth and what your dharma is and how to follow your intuition fearlessly and all of that. So I created that program literally, I think maybe like 60, 75 days ago, like 2.5 months, not that long ago. And I am blessed and deeply grateful for the students who have chosen to trust me and have taken the leap of faith into their journey. And I am seeing them like blossom and shift in just a few sessions. And it just kind of confirms like, okay, this is gonna work. Like, this is going to be amazing for them and for me. And I am so deeply grateful to you guys. So thank you so much if you're watching. Those of you who are watching and are currently enrolled, I really sincerely appreciate your trust, because this is kind of brand new to me too. I lead it with confidence because I have seen like the result of many students through many years. But I'm still like, you know, I'm right now in the process of like changing training platforms, right? Because I put everything on this online platform, and then I realized it doesn't have everything that I need to do, like the emails and the stuff. So I gotta train, I gotta shift. And I'm learning all of this online stuff. And so as I'm learning all of this online stuff, about, I don't know, maybe like 30 days ago, maybe even less, I'm taking this class to try and understand like how Facebook works, because I don't know. I wasn't on Facebook before this at all. I mean, I had a profile, but I never really went on it. And I joined this group, this class on, you know, how to like engage Facebook groups and how to use them to create a sense of community. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me give it a try. So I go ahead and I create this little community. And within 30 days, I mean, today we hit 500, and you have no idea. Like, I am so humbled and so grateful for you to be here and to see you interact with each other and support each other and give each other advice and just shine. It's like you log into the group and you can feel the love. You can feel the fun we're having. You can feel like the support towards each other, and I just couldn't be more grateful. And so here I am. So now I have this community of 500 wonderful women who have chosen to join this community. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do next? How can I serve? And that is what the challenge is all about next week. It's my way of sincerely thanking you for joining, for supporting my journey, for giving me hope, for helping me feel like I can do this online thing, which I didn't even realize I could do, you know. But by now, if you've heard the rest of my story, you see that I just do what needs to be done, even if there's fear, even if there's doubt, even if I don't know what I'm doing. I still go and I still push through. And when the universe responds in the way that you guys have, it is actually truly humbling, because it just confirms that I'm on the right path. And when we all do that, when each one of us can live that fearlessly, can follow their heart, can trust their spirit, can do what you're being guided from within, and the whole world shines. And so that's what I'm hoping to teach you. It's like when I teach, I don't teach from this place of like theory. I teach because I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to be confused and lost. I know what it's like to have your mind racing at 1,000 miles an hour, because you are trying to do something that you know you're supposed to be doing spiritually from your heart, and yet you have all of these things, all of these mental preconceived notions and societal expectations and negative energies and all of that that's holding you back. And so even though you understand, like in your head, you're still not able to transcend energetically. And that's what I hope to support you in doing, doing as you go through this journey. I hope to inspire you to, I don't want to say do what I've done, because I've done what I've done, because that's my path. You need to do what you need to do in your path, and only you know what that path is. And so whenever I work with people, my goal is to empower them to really connect with that part of themselves. And it's going to require the three things. It's going to require a teacher who knows the ways, been there, done that, knows how to get out, knows how to change, transform, and shift, knows the obstacles you're going to encounter, etc. It requires a systematic practice for your specific needs, and it requires a community of women who are going through what you're going through. Because when you begin to awaken and you begin to tap into that power of your heart, there's gonna be a lot of resistance internally and externally. And when you connect with other women who are supporting you and trying to do the same thing that you're doing, it is the most empowering thing on earth, because it gives you confidence, and you know that with their help, you could actually rise to be the best version of yourself. And so that's kind of my story. It has taken me a whole 36 minutes. I'm looking at the clock over there, so I won't ramble on for too long. I wanted to share a little bit about how the challenge is going to work. This is what you need to know. I'm going to go live each day next week at 2 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Eastern time inside this group. But if you can't make it at that time, no worries. Everything will be saved under units in this Facebook group. All your manuals, your workbooks, your summary, recaps, the videos and everything. And you will also get emails. I know the system I'm using sometimes sends my emails to the promotions spam box. So what you can do is kind of look for it and make sure that you mark me as safe mail. Because unfortunately there's nothing that I can do about that. All of the, automated systems that send emails in bulk sometimes get just put into the spam folder. There's nothing I can do about that. So yeah, thank you for listening. So Colleen says, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for listening. It takes a lot of courage, because I know that once I start sharing, I'll get like teary-eyed, because I'm so deeply grateful for all of the people and all of the teachers who have helped me get here. I'm so deeply grateful. You see, I'm so deeply grateful for all the students. If it wasn't for the students, I would be a teacher. Like, I'm a teacher because you trust me, because you give yourself the chance, and because you want to learn. And so it's a blessing and a privilege that I get to teach, and I try to do it with humbleness. It doesn't always come across that way, because here's a question everybody's always asking. Where are you from? I'm from El Salvador, Central America. That's my heritage. I came here when I was 16, so that's why I still have an accent. At first, I landed in the Bronx, so you'll hear a little bit of that. And then I lived for almost a decade or more in New Jersey, so you'll hear a little bit of that too. So people are always like, what kind of accent is that? I'm like, I don't know, it's what I got. And it's funny because that's my English, right? But I've been here for 24 years. I'm 40 now. And I've forgotten my Spanish a little bit. And so when I speak Spanish, I almost sound like a gringa. And so now I'm just screwed. It's like I don't speak English well, and I don't speak Spanish either. Because it is what it is. So, but I've found I kind of get my point across. People understand me through my accent, and so some people think it's cute, some people think it's interesting. I'm sure some people think it's annoying. It's all right. It is what it is. So thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna log off now because I've kept you online now for 40 minutes. I hope you enjoyed listening to a little bit of my story. I thank you so much for letting me share it and for listening. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I will see you Monday in the challenge. Namaste.